The intention in this video is to demonstrate the basics of creating an orthographic drawing, and just to generally describe the kind of things you can do in one of these 2D drawing worksheets. If you've worked through the activities laid out in videos 1, 2 and 4, that's the N5-N6 videos, you'll have done things like create a template page, you will have created a title block and a border, you'll have changed lots of settings that will have an impact on the views that you create. Things like the dimensions will appear differently from the default, and they'll be more in line with British standards. You'll start by putting in the base view. When you've got an object that you want to do in a 2D drawing format, it's good to have it open in the background. So I've got this object that I'm going to create a 2D drawing of, and I've got it open in the background. I've opened up the drawing that we created called drawing template. That's the one that had the border and the title block and all the things changed in the various settings, and I've just renamed it Dogleg Ortho just to give it a unique title. So go to base view, and Inventor anticipates that I want to draw in the object that's already open in the background. If I move over to the right, you can see that it hovers on the cursor. I can change which orientation it comes in by using these commands here. I do in fact want it to come in from the front. If you get a situation where it's not the way around you want it, you can press this little icon and it will bring up a separate menu where you can orientate it round, just manually control it, and press the tick when you're done, and that will put it in the way that you want it. Right now it's in as a scale 1:1. I don't want it to be scale 1:1, I want it to be twice as big, I want it to be 2:1. So what I would do is I go over to this menu, I could use the drop down, or I could just simply type in using the keyboard what I want. So there you have 2. As soon as I put a 2 in, I get it twice as big, a scale 2:1. Now I'm happy with that, but I'm just going to make sure that I'm going to have hidden detail. So I'm going to press this button here. There's a lot of commands in this menu that we can come back and change, but for now this will do. I'm going to press OK, and it's generated a view. You can see that immediately after generating a view, it will want to automatically create other views like an end elevation here, or a plan here, or you could even, if you took your mouse up to the top corner, get an isometric view. I'm going to choose not to do that right now. I'm just going to press the escape key. There is some detail here. We can actually increase the level of detail here, and we particularly want to do that because of what's called a thread feature inside. So if I hover next to the dotted line, I can right click and I can find display thread features. You can see that additional dotted hidden detail lines have appeared. I'm actually noticing a slight mistake in this, which I can go and revisit later, but I do want an extra level of detail for the thread feature. I've got an issue here with the title. It's called Elevation 5. You'll notice that in my drawing here, the text is below the drawing that's been generated. And that's because of the settings that we changed when we were working in the Manage and Styles Editor exercise, the one that we did before we set up to do British Standards Dimensioning. So I actually consciously made a change to tell Inventor to put the labels below the drawings, and that's happened for me. And if that's not happening for you, it's not a big problem because you can drag on any text entry and move it about. It's just called Note Text, and we can move it about. You can right click on it, you can get various options like Edit Text Style, that allows you to change the colour. I want to change what it actually says though, and to do that what we have to do is right click and press Edit View. That will take us back to the menu we were in at the beginning. I'm now going to just cover that text, drag over it and just change it to elevation. I'm going to press OK, and I'm going to get that. That's good enough for now. I think this should be slightly higher. You can see that the text moves up with it, and now I can begin to bring in other elevations. So we do that back in the Place View tab using something called a projected view. I'm going to click on the initial object, I'm going to pull to the left, and I'm going to click, I'm going to right click, and I'm going to click on Create. And I get a very detailed drawing. I get the thread feature, I get all of the hidden detail generated just straight off this. Again, I've got an instance of the wrong label, so if I just hover over this, right click, edit the view, I can change it there. I'll just call it End Elevation. That's that done. Now we can start working away at doing things like dimensioning. That's all in the Annotate tab. Dimensions go in simply just by using this general dimension tool. I'm going to go and put one on for the overall height, so I'll hover around until I get a green snap dot where I want to start it. I'm going to come down and get the exact same at the bottom where I want to finish it, and I can now pull away to the left and I can put a dimension on. You can see the dimensions sometimes stop and become dotted. That's just at a point where Inventor deems it to be a suitable gap. Maybe it's about 20 millimeters away from the nearest edge. I'm just going to click there, press OK. You can see that my dimension is green. You can see that my text is turned round. There's no additional decimal points or zeros. There's a small gap down here because of the changes that we made in the styles editor previously. So all of your dimensioning would be done in this exact same way. The other thing you'll want to do are what are called center line bisectors. So that's anywhere you've got a hole. I'm going to use that tool. I'm going to come in, I'm going to click a line there, I'm going to click a line there, and I'll get something called a center line bisector. As before, if you hit the escape key, you can pull these items and you can stretch them. We can also put in center points or center marks. So that's this tool here. You can come down, find anything that's circular, just click on it and you'll get that there. Again, remember there's a facility to edit these. We can right click on it, we can find the edit command, we can actually add and remove dashes. So I can do that there. I can also stretch this out. I can make lots of changes and make this slightly more detailed. You've got the ability to edit and also take dimensions from these two. There you go. I can pull this out to a larger or smaller size until I'm happy with it. Final thing we'll show you is how to get another third view, an isometric view. We'll go back to base view. We could do that, but we're going to use projected view. I'm going to click on that. I'm going to click on the main elevation, the one that came in first. I'm going to pull away to the top left or top right. Click, right click and press create. I'm just going to move that down into a correct position. I'm actually just going to add a bit of interest to this drawing. I'm going to right click on it and I'm going to go to edit view and I'm going to actually make this rendered. So it's going to be shaded and rendered and I'm going to press OK. Sometimes you can't do this because there's a little dot in this style from base part of the menu. Just undo that if that's there, because that changes the style that you've got for your elevation to the style of any new drawing that you create. Final thing to do here would be to change the name of it to isometric view. Okay, this drawing's nearly complete. I don't want to overcomplicate it with any more views. I'm going to take a little bit more time adding dimensioning and annotation, but there's one important thing I'll show you before the video finishes, and that's just that this scale is wrong. Remember, we changed the scale. To do that, we would have to go back to the standard title block, have to right click on it and press edit definition. And that'll unlock it, and that allows us to change the text, and we can at the same time change our name and stuff like that too. I spent a bit of extra time adding some more dimensions, and I've also put in a plan view. I did that using the projected view feature for a third time. The final dimension I'm going to put in just here. I'm going to do that by using the Annotate tab, the General Dimension tool, and just place a dimension on this item here. You'll see when I pull this up, it does detect that it's a small dimension, so it does put the 3 in between the arrows and actually places the arrows on the outside edges of the dimension. It's still not quite perfect. I'm going to click and I'm going to create it. I'm going to show you one final thing that you can do to change this. You can right click on any dimension and you can bring up a menu that says Edit Dimension Style. This takes you into a menu similar to the one that you've seen when you were working in the Styles editor, where you've got various tabs, and we want to go to the one called Display. I'm just going to go to this little box here and I'm going to basically get rid of the line that goes in the middle of the dimension by pressing that button there. When I press done, you can see that it asks me to save it, which I do, and now that there's no arrow in there, it's more in line with British standards.